Hello, this is a short video to support the mathematics section of the Birth to 5 Matters document. I am Helen Williams, and just with me on screen is Andrea Lancaster. We're both members of the Early Childhood Mathematics group. We are a very diverse group of educators, and drawing up the Maths Guidance section of Birth to 5 Matters drew on the whole range of expertise that we have in that group. With a small group pulling it together to finally write it. And we acknowledge as a group that the section might appear a little bit daunting and rather a lot to take on board. But we want to make it clear that it's not to be read all at once. And we're hoping that this video helps you find a way into the maths section where you feel comfortable enough to find your way around it. So we also acknowledge that and recognise that not all adults feel confident about maths themselves and therefore prefer to focus on other aspects of the curriculum and learning and of children's development because maths has been not very pleasant experience for them. So they might be unsure about how to best to support children. So the maths section, our maths section, was meant to be an adult learning tool where we help people feel much more confident about working mathematically with the youngest children in our care. So we are very confident that the section is developmentally appropriate and firmly research based. And we also hope that you find that the examples we've given of practice are playful and fun for both the children and yourselves. So for us, it's very important that maths needs to be something that both the children and the adults enjoy. And then children can become confident and adults help promote the attitude that maths is enjoyable and something that children can all do. So over to you, Andrea.
Yeah, Helen, and we're really conscious, aren't we, that our maths section looks very different to the other sections. But we've done that for a purpose, and we wanted to really emphasise the fact that there's more to early maths than just counting or naming shapes. So what we've done is we've actually got headings within our section, and there are 8 headings altogether, 4 of them to do with number and 4 that are non-number related. So that's shape, spatial awareness, measures and pattern. So actually this is probably a good time for me to share my screen. Let me just do this. Here we go. So you can see on this screen that we've got number there. So with the very first range for the very youngest of babies, we've only got one thread there, if you like, for number, not all 4 of them, but we've got from the very beginning all 4 aspects: spatial awareness, shape, pattern and measures for that youngest age range. And you can see how it builds up as we go through. If I show you the next slide, here we go. So this is range 5, which is like nursery age. And you can see from here, we've got comparison, counting, cardinality and composition. We've got the 4 threads there for number. And you can see, like with the other sections, we've still got the unique child, what a child might be doing. We've got positive relationships, what the adults might be doing and saying. And then we've got the enabling environments, what adults might provide. So giving you some ideas of, you know, the kinds of resources or experiences you might offer. So this is meant as an adult learning tool. And some things there might already be known to you. Some things you might want to refresh on, and some things like, I don't know, cardinality perhaps, you might not have heard of and you want to find out more. So hopefully as an adult learning tool, this is going to really help practitioners to consolidate what they already do and develop their practice. So like the rest of Birth to 5 Matters, it was never intended as a tick list. It's just some of the kinds of things that children are going to be doing at that stage. But hopefully what you can see here is a really clear progression in in development. And it's going to hopefully help adults to think about what it is that children do naturally in terms of their mathematical development, but also what we need to teach them, because we can't just leave children until they're 3 years old. This is about adults learning about how they might want to support children. And, you know, this is about cultural capital. Maths is a cultural thing. You know, the number system that we use it's about culture, and so we need to be actually thinking about teaching those things. And like Clemens and Sarama say, what we need is high quality teaching and high quality play with high quality interactions with children. So Helen,
yes,
I'm just going to stop share there. There we go.
I love that description. I love that description from Clements and Sarama, where they talk about the balance and the absolute necessity for both of those things: the high quality teaching and the high quality play. And I hopefully our section has examples of all of those things in there that you can dip into. So we're going to give perhaps an idea of how you might get into the maths section by working with your colleagues or working with other people that work with children like you do. And we're going to give some examples of how you might use that. And Andrea's going to start us off by looking at the under threes, and then I'm going to have a look at the over threes. So Andrea, can you perhaps point us towards a way that we might be using this document if I was, say, working in the baby room?
Yeah, of course. I think what I'd absolutely want to do is celebrate what people already do, because I think once you start looking into this document, it will become apparent that there's a lot of things people already do that they just might not consider as the beginnings of mathematics for children. So let me just share again. Here we go. So I've brought up here the range 2, which is the slightly older babies. But imagine you're in the baby room. What would I do? Well, I'd be asking them first maybe to think about the routines that happen in that room. So all children arrive at your setting, they all leave. You've got nappy times and toilet times, you've got hand washing, you've got sharing snacks, sharing meals, times when children are got ready to go outside, and then when you come back in again. So we've got lots and lots of times of the day, tidying up time, that are all part of routines. And I think what I'd ask people to do is, once they've actually listed those routines and thought about the things they do, I'd then think about, or ask them to think about, a child that they know well and the things that they do with that child. And then just to have a look at the range here. And let's say this is a baby who's sitting up, so they're in this second range maybe, and they'd look and think, well, does this look like what I know about this child? And of course the ranges are there to move backwards and forwards with them as well. So if I felt actually this didn't describe the child I knew, I might go back to the range 1 or forward into range 3 and have a look there. But once you've done that, like I said before, we need to celebrate things you already do. So I'm looking here and thinking, here under positive relationships, during personal care routines, make a point of using numbers. And you might find there's a member of staff who says, oh yeah, when I change nappies, I always, when I'm doing the poppers on the vest, go 1, 2, 3, you know. And maybe another colleague says, oh, I don't do that, but I could. Or, you know, I'm looking over here and it says plan to sing number rhymes. Maybe that person said, well, we sing rhymes a lot, but do we sing number rhymes? Maybe that's a place where you can start thinking of those additional things you could do, where you can actually bring more maths to the fore. So I think my message here is, have a look at the documents, think about a child you know, think about whether these statements describe the child that you know, or whether you need to go back or forward in the ranges, and then have a look and see what you do, celebrate those things, and then look at how you might extend your practice and provision. Okay, Helen, I'll stop sharing, your turn.
Yes, so I think that is a lovely way of getting into it for whichever age group you work in, is by thinking about your routines and the things that you do all the time, because those are those sort of things, the registration, the tidying up, the backwards and forwarding that happens within any setting. Those are ideal examples of situations where you can bring maths on board by, counting how many are in the line already and seeing how many still to join it. Does that block fit in that place? Is that the right place to store that? All of those things that you can build on is a lovely natural way to make a start, I think. The other way, I think, to start, and I was drawn to it by looking at that when you shared that the very youngest range, the youngest two ranges there, is that you've got something there called spatial awareness, and you might be sitting there thinking, well, whatever's that, and so I think that's another way in, isn't it, by saying, well, I don't know what that is. So let's just think of this child who is an age group that I'm familiar with, but what does spatial awareness look like? And you might find there, oh, actually, yes, it's about knowing about your body parts and knowing how you are and where you are in relation to the world around you. So so that's another way in, isn't it, to have a familiar child and then look at perhaps the unfamiliar. So I'm going to just have a look now at the I'm going to share my screen and have a look at the later ranges with you, and you can see how that develops. So this is range 5 again, and again we're looking at the sort of nursery age child here, early reception, and this is obviously getting a lot more complex as the child develops. And this page here is the number side. It's the number area of mathematics, and it's got all the threads of number here. We've got comparison, counting, cardinality, composition. So all those C's, comparison, counting, cardinality, and composition, all those different bits of number. And I think that, so if I just go forward a slide, a couple more slides, you'll see that the other areas are still there, the spatial awareness and the shape, the pattern and the measures, they're all still there. But just thinking about the number, because that looks a bit more complicated, so let's have a little bit of a think about that. So here perhaps I'm thinking, here's this nursery child, and she's got a couple of toys and she's got some pebbles lined up, and there's some counting going on there. And although I know all of those areas of number interrelate with how we understand number, all those things are really important that they all just knit together to develop our early number understanding. As a practitioner, it's important for me to know which of those I'm emphasising when I'm interacting with that child. That helps me develop them much further. So, for example, if I wanted to develop her ability to count, say the right words in the right order, I might be saying things like, so what number comes next? What number are you going to say next? So I might be interacting like that. If I wanted to be working on her understanding of quantity, that's cardinality, that's C, the cardinality C, I might be saying things like, oh, so can you give hedgehog 4 pebbles? Can you give penguin 5 pebbles? So you can see how those different sorts of interactions, and you'll be able to pick those up in the document as well by looking across at what adults might do and the environments that we might provide, support all those different threads of number. So I think that's all I want to say. Oh yes, I wanted to just draw attention to the second bullet from the bottom here. So if you look here, for example, we just pick up this on the enabling environment, support children to choose how to arrange collections of 2, 3 and 4 objects in different ways. Well, there's another way that I might support something like understanding quantity, as opposed to just looking at counting the right words in the right order. So all of those two right-hand columns will give you a whole range of experiences that I can pick up on at different times whilst working with my group.
Yeah, I think as well, Helen, you know, that idea of choices, the adults having a choice about which aspects they're going to focus on is so important. And I think as well, you know, when you're reflecting on what you already do, you know, you might find that some aspects that you focus on a lot and other areas aren't given so much attention. And so, you know, it's a really useful tool here to think about that broad balance of what we actually need to give children in their maths diet, if you like. Yeah, and I think the other thing is about outdoors.
Yes.
You know, we have gone to town on giving examples in the last columns, haven't we? Particularly in range 5 and 6. It's not mentioned as much, but I think it's implicit in the earlier ones. But we really do put lots of examples in ranges 5 and 6, particularly in terms of outdoor. And I think a message that we'd want to put across is that, you know, outdoor maths is important, but it's not just what you do inside. It's got to be different. It can be bigger, can't it? It can be experiences that you can't do indoors. You know, it can be, you know, big water play. You know, Jan White talks about having big, heavy and awkward objects there for children to really feel how heavy something is or how long something is if they're having to, you know, work together to carry a big plank across the playground. So I think outdoors is something we'd really want to emphasize there as well. What about some final messages, Helen?
Yes, I think we'll tie up now. So I think mine will be, I mean, absolutely the outdoors, but the final messages are: don't tackle it all at once.
Yeah.
Use it to look at that child that you know well, or for an area that you want to become more familiar with and you want to know more about. Have you got a final message, Andrea?
I think we've got a few probably, haven't we? Yeah, the aspects that we've picked out, those 8 threads, they're important. You know, they're not bullet points of everything a child will be doing, but they're ideas of some of the typical things they'll do. And hopefully we've given you a progression there as well to show you, you know, what you can consolidate with and how you could extend for that child. And yeah, this is about the unique child, isn't it? They're all different.
Yeah.
So, you know, do think about that child you really know well and see if you can actually see them reflected in those kind of statements and then take it from there.
Yes, that's lovely, isn't it? I mean, I love the example you gave earlier where you talked about looking at the range before and the range afterwards to get a feeling as a practitioner where I'm coming from and where I'm going to with those children.
Yeah, because a lot of this is about children's experience. And when they're coming into nursery, they've had different experiences. It might not be that they're not able to do things like counting, for example. It might be that they haven't had the experience, and we need to just look back a little bit and then take them forward.
Yes. Oh, that's really, yeah, that's absolutely right. In the end, I think as adults, we all have a choice of how we interact with children and what we provide for children, and how we respond to children when they're interacting with us. And this document, our math section, is very much aimed at increasing your choices as practitioners, and helping us, informing our choices as practitioners. So we have a wide choice of how to respond, and we're aware of the breadth of the mathematics that we can offer our very youngest children. I think that if I don't like or understand maths very well, or I've always found it's something that I have not been one of my favourite things, then it is difficult to know what to say and do. And often we're anxious about recycling that feeling. And so our message here is that, you know, this document is to help you get over that bump if you feel like that. And so that you can enjoy all those mathematical moments with your children. And I really think that sometimes a good way of looking at it is those outdoor games, those track games, the dice games, the jigsaw puzzles, the card games, all those little moments are like picture books are to reading. Those are to maths as picture books are to reading. Those are the lovely, warm, fuzzy sort of bits of maths that we can enjoy and help children build their confidence as well as their knowledge. Did you want to tie up the video there, Andrea?
I think so. I think there's just one other point to make is about families as well. So just like we've said, you know, it would be good to look and celebrate what you already do and think about what else you could do. Take families with you and, you know, find out what they're doing at home with their children, help them to celebrate and see the value of what they're doing, you know, using this document, if you like, to help you with those conversations, and help those parents as well, those families, to think about playful things that they could do at home to support children's development. So if you want to know more, we have lots of documents on the ECMG website and little magic moments and videos. So what I'm going to do now is just share screen again. And there we are. There's our website, which, well, obviously we think is very, very useful.
It's certainly a lot of stuff on there, but it's a lovely range of stuff. There's stuff to read, there's stuff to watch, there's images to look at. So yeah, if you're interested in finding out more, yeah, have a little circle around there.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for listening.